think it is healthy. I mean, it's probably the perfect scenario for myself as well as the Lions to be in right now. I think just coaching the majority of those players in the past, I think it gives us a little bit of an advantage, not much, but an advantage just with the fact that I know what those players' strengths and weaknesses are, and hopefully we can kind of avoid their strengths and kind of force them to play a little bit to their weakness. So I like the matchup. We've done relatively well against them this year. I haven't said that, that was a team that I think at the deadline spent a fair amount of money in free agent signings and that sort of thing and made some trades. I think Brendan Taylor's a great kid, obviously a very good hockey player with a lot of upside, but I think some of his habits, definitely most of it was on ice that just didn't fit, sort of the goals and the direction that I want the Halifax Lions to go in. I still think I have a great relationship with Brendan. I'm actually in the process now of trying to help him hook on with the university team for next year. So I think his strengths are something that will be an asset to many hockey teams. But for right now, what I'm trying to accomplish with the Halifax Lions, I didn't think it was a good fit. I'll be honest, I probably look crazy to a lot of people when 4 or 5 games prior to playoffs, or we're still in a race for playoffs, and I'm releasing my top scorer who has almost 2 points a game. So on the surface, I don't expect a whole lot of people to understand it, but I know I would say I have the support of the majority of my room, and really that's all that's important this time of year. Right now, I think Robbie's best bet would be to show that he can be a quality character guy and a quality leader on a team like the Halifax Lions. And I said the best chance that he has of playing at the next level would be to show that he could lead, an average team or, like the Halifax Lions to overachieve. Mm-hmm. And I think that's, there's many different ways to get to the next level. And I think for Robbie, I think that's the best way he can get there, to show that he can make an average team pretty good. So, I think that's his best shot at it. I really do. I think if we're able to win around here in the playoffs, I think the obvious guys that take notice on a team not chock full of, top-end talent, recruiters and AUS guys with coaches and stuff like that would acknowledge the captain, who obviously had a big part in getting us there. I love it personally. I think one of my favorite things I can look back on the last 10 years or so of coaching is every 16-year-old I've ever committed to has never been back in the Maritime Junior League as a 17 or an 18 or 19-year-old. So, I'd like to bring in guys that maybe were overlooked at 16 to play in the queue and give them an opportunity to show that they belong there. And, when I take guys like Stephen Woodworth, that's the ultimate plan. And, when I sit down and chat with families about their kids, my goal is to give them as much ice time and development opportunity as I can to help them get to the next level. And that's a big reason why we're there. And a lot of people look at it as a loss, when I look at it as a very, a big positive, because I know next year when I'm out kind of recruiting and talking to midget age players, that they realize that the Halifax Lions isn't going to be a dead end for them, and that if they commit to coming here at 16 or 17, it may not be the end of the road for them. They may get another shot at the major junior level. Similar situations over his career, and I think he takes a lot of pressure on himself, and I think mentally he may wear himself down at times. So I've just tried to have many conversations with him throughout the year and just told him that we don't need him to be, the type of team we are. I don't think we need him to be great. We just need him to not get outplayed by the other goaltender. Right. And if he just makes this, I know it's a typical coach comment, but if he just makes the saves we need him to make, and let in the goals that are expected to be let in, I think we'll be fine. So I think in the past he's always, I know last year he felt that if the Halifax Lions were to win, he would have to stop 50, 60 shots and stand on his head. And that's not the case anymore, I don't think. I think he just has to do his job and let everybody else do their jobs, and I think we'll be okay. So during that little lull there where he wasn't playing great or as good as Cody can play, I think, it just maybe got in his head that he was starting to feel the pressure of the whole thing.
One of the guys I've really been impressed with, kind of brings you an upgrade on defense, is Matthew Fortune. Talk about this kid.
Yeah, he's another guy, still midget age guy, young, 17-year-old player. Played in the Quebec League for most of the first half, and then ended up back in Pictou County. And they really, it's funny how it works, right? Like Pictou County didn't have room for him. He was kind of the number 7, number 8 guy, and so we traded for him just to give him an opportunity. I'm familiar with his family. I coached his brother Ryan, who plays in Pictou County now. And he's just a guy that's going to make the most of his opportunity, right? He wanted to come to Halifax because he thought he'd get to play. Because of all our signings to the Quebec League, we only have 5 defensemen, so he's obviously in our top 6. And, he's just a simple guy, steady guy. Like, as he gets some experience, I think he'll kind of progress to be a player more like a Jordan Thomas, who just competes and battles and wins his one-on-ones and that sort of thing. All he needs is a little bit of time and a little bit of experience. Donald, I think John brings the same attitude, same mentality every day. Works very hard, great team guy. A lot of people don't notice him because he's more of a defensive-minded forward, but he's been so consistent all year. Another guy on defense, I think, would be Jordan Thomas. I think we're a completely different team with him out of the lineup. He's been injured a few times this year, and he raises everybody's level, kind of in games and in practice, just with how hard he competes in battles for the puck. Very seldom loses one-on-one battles. Yeah, I think you can't ignore that speed. The size comes into play with a few people, but next year will be a big year for Stuart, where, I think 5-on-5 he's great. Pelham to kill, he's as good as anybody in our league. But the experience and the confidence he will have next year when he sees all these 20-year-olds kind of move on in the league, and I think he'll find himself and realize that, he's a top guy now and a go-to guy. So I think with that will come a lot of confidence for Stuart. He would love to, the main reason he's back here in Halifax and not playing, he was with the PEI Rocket. The main reason is he wants to, showcase his ability in front of, schools like Dalhousie and St. Mary's. Paper, we're not quite as good as, and thank God it's not played on paper, but on paper we're not as good as some of these teams in the league, depth-wise, experience-wise, top-end talent-wise. So what happens is we're not, without the experience of some other teams, if we don't play our game almost to a T, we're gonna get beat bad. I mean, that's just a fact of the matter. But if we play within our structure and within our systems, we can be successful, and we've shown we can be successful against Truro, we can be successful against Woodstock, we can be successful against any one of those guys. But with the inexperience, sometimes comes, we get ahead of ourselves a little bit. We have a little bit of success, and then we think we can just run and gun with these teams instead of realizing that probably playing within the structure is why we've had this success. So that just comes with some experience, and that takes time.
He is the head coach and GM of the Halifax Lions, Coach Troy Ryan. Coach, thanks so much. Good luck against Pictou County.